Okay, sup everybody? Today I'm going to teach you how to do an orchestral template on Logic. By the way, I've transitioned from Ableton to Logic Pro. The reason to that is due to my current workflow. Each DAW has its own pros in certain scenario. Since I'm doing mockups, the switch from Logic Pro to Ableton makes more sense. If you're more into live performances, like my Project 101, you might want to get Ableton. If you're into orchestral mockups, considering getting Logic Pro. Logic Pro is very affordable compared to most DAWs out there. So today, I'm going to show you how I do my orchestra templates. I'll be using VSL as its sample libraries. I'll also leave this orchestral template down in the description box. Without further ado, let's begin. So first of all, when you open up your Logic, you want to start a new project, choose empty projects and keep this as default unless you are working on a certain project that requires you a certain tempo, a certain key signature, time signature, sample rate. I like to keep it at 48,000 Hertz, frame rate at 30 frames per second. Spatial audio off, surrounding format, just keep it as default. Choose this, let's go. So first of all, you have this MIDI, you have the pattern, session player, audio. Usually I use MIDI for orchestral mockups. Audio is analog to digital conversion. For example, you're doing electric guitar or acoustic piano recording, then you use audio. If not, then you just use MIDI. Assuming you have Vienna Assistant downloaded, Synchron Player downloaded, got your iLok account downloaded, then you can start this process. Search for VSL, go to VSL Synchron Player, stereo. We are doing stereo, that means left and right. Then create. And by default, it just pops up like this. I like to clean things up first. Tap Y, that's for the library. That is inspector on here. This is inspector. Click I. Okay, that's the shortcut. So usually I just turn off the libraries. Why? I just leave the inspector tab here. Synchron player. You go to the flow view. Flow view is amazing. New design compared to the precision. You can resize your VSL synchron player here. Since my screen is smaller, I'll set it to 75%. Amazing that VSL provided us free instruments, Synchron series. This is all purchased, but the free one is on the left side. Free instruments and Synchron Prime Orchestra, which is 30 days free at the time of filming this video. This is how it looks like in a real orchestra setup. I don't have to talk much. The diagram is already self-explanatory for the standard tutti orchestra. So first, I want to bring up something. If you are doing the standard score, it always begins with woodwinds, then brass, percussion, tune or untune, then harp, pianos. The last one will be the strings. So I'll just pull up MuseScore for a while. For me personally, I like to follow the score layout, except for the piano, because I'm a pianist. Alright, so you open up new score, Symphony Orchestra. That is standard tutti score. So it begins with the flutes on the top. Flutes with a higher register on the most highest. Piccolo, if you want to add in the piccolo, it will be on top of flute 1. Then oboes, next is clarinet, bassoons. This is the woodwind section from here to here. Maybe you can have a contrabassoon down below bassoon 2. Next will be the brass section, horn 1 to horn 4. Horns is like the glue of the entire orchestra. That's my best analogy. Horns between the woodwinds and the brass. Then you have the highest register in the brass, which is the trumpet. Then trombone, tuba. And trombone, actually you have tenor trombone and bass trombone. And euphonium, that is out of the standard setting. So we have the trumpet, trombones, tuba. After the brass is the percussion. Timpani, which is a tuned percussion. You have the untuned percussion, snare drum, bass drum, cymbals. Maybe you can have tam-tam, right? Tam-tam is like the Chinese gong. Maybe you can also have a glockenspiel here. Glockenspiel, xylophone, marimba under the timpani, which is the tuned percussion, then untuned percussion. After the percussion, it's harp and piano. You can add in grand piano here. Like this, piano, put it in. So the grand piano is under the harp. Next will be the violins, violin 1, violin 2, violas, cello, and contrabass. And if you do have a choir, the choir will be above the string section. And for me, for my own arrangement, I like this to be under the strings. That's just my personal preference because I like to keep the chords down here. Other than that, that's the basic walkthrough to the standard orchestral score. We'll go back to Logic. We just follow the standard score layout. We'll have the woodwinds on top. First, we click woodwinds and set up a piccolo on top. Then you want to start duplicating. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 tracks already. The reason to why is we don't want to do key switches in mockups. At least that's for me. I don't like switching keys, so I like to create every articulation, the most used one, the shorts and the longs, for each instrument. For example, this is called piccolo. I'll start renaming this. Hold Shift and Enter. That's a shortcut key for naming tracks in Logic Pro. Piccolo, piccolo short. I don't like to call it piccolo legato because I know piccolo by default is legato in my template. The articulation that is more commonly used is the short articulation, so I just call this short. So basically it's just long, short, long, short. Maybe when we reach the strings, then maybe we have 3 articulations there. For this, we call this flute 1 and flute 1 short. We have flute 2, flute 2 short. How long this is going to take me? I was wondering, should I make this template based on the brass controller? I'm not going to set up for the CC2 for this template. Initially, I was about to use CC2 for this template, but considering most of you do not have the brass controller, then I'll just leave this dynamic as CC1 for this sample library. In this sample library, we do have mod wheel, which is CC1, and brass controller, CC2. According to the previous video, if you have watched my previous video on brass controller, I did a lot of shorts, demonstrate how I use the brass controller for more realism in my mockups. This is the switch. You can switch here from CC1 to CC2. Considering most of you do not have a brass controller, I'm just going to keep this dynamic under CC1. So let's keep on creating the template first. Oboe 1 short, clarinet 1, we all know it's in B flat, 1 short. I'm going to leave English horn and bass clarinet out for this video. Keep the rest. Then we can start grouping all these 20 tracks, long, short for each instrument. Just hold Shift, click the last track, Command, Shift, G. Now click this, make sure you just only highlight the first group track, hold Shift, click Enter, and you can start renaming. That's a shortcut renaming key in Logic. We call this woodwinds. I like to keep it all capital. You can expand this and you can close this. If you want to recolor code your entire track, just simply highlight the first track, hold Shift, click the last track. Make sure all the tracks are highlighted, then simply hold Option C, and this color tab pops up. For woodwinds, I personally like it to be in blue, and that's it. That's how you change the color. We want to set up all the tracks first, then we will tweak all the individual instruments. So let me get all this done. I'll be back. After the brass and woodwinds is a percussion. So for percussion, personally, I just want to add in things that I will be using the most. For example, timpani, glockenspiel, xylophone, suspended cymbal, tam-tam, bass drum. 5 or 6 more or less. First is going to be timpani. And timpani, we have the rolls and the hits. For the hits, we just call it timpani. Timpani rolls. Glockenspiel, cymbal, suspended cymbal, tam-tam, bass drum. And we can group the entire thing. We call this percussion for short. We'll keep the color code for percussion as green. By the way, glockenspiel is a tuned percussion. Timpani is also a tuned percussion. You may also have the freedom to separate it out from the rest. But for this video, I'll just keep it as percussion, tuned and untuned in the same category. Next will be the harp, pianos. Next we have the strings. For strings, the most commonly used is legato, staccato, pizzicato, basically these 3 articulations. So I just keep these 3 in this template. Violin long, violin 1 short, which is staccato. And we have violin 1, pizzicato. Same goes to the violin 2 as well. Okay, so after done renaming all these tracks, highlight from track 50 to track 64. Make sure everything is highlighted. Command Shift G, group everything. Rename this, highlight this single track, call this strings. And we want to color code this in brown. Highlight everything, Option C, brown. So that's my setup. So now we want to go into each track and assign each instrument and its articulation into each track. So for piccolo, we want to go to this flow view. We go to piccolo, we choose long, it's highlighted, and deactivate the unused articulation to save more RAM. Make sure the legato is on. Piccolo short, we choose short. Highlight the staccato articulation, deactivate the rest to save memory. Alright, so that's short. Flute, long, deactivate staccato, portato, and universal. Leave legato on. Mod wheel, CC1. If you're using a breath controller like mine in the past video, switch it to CC2. More on that breath controller in the next video. So we have the flute, we have flute 1 short. Go to flute, double tap short, deactivate the rest. Flute 2, highlight long, deactivate the unused articulation. Next track. It's time consuming. You have to do this like one by one. That's why you want to get this template. And all these sample libraries are free from VSL for 30 days. For more mockup advice, you can contact me on PGM Academy. We move on to the brass. It's also the same. We start with horn 1. Horn 1 for horn 1. Okay, because in the standard setting we have 4 horns. Since VSL only have 2 horns, you can see we only got 2 horns here. We have this option to work with these 2 patches. We also want to eliminate the phasing issue of the horns. So usually I like my horn 1 to stick with horn 1. Horn 3, use horn 2. Horn 2, use horn 1. And horn 4, use horn 2. Because in the standard setting it's horn 1 first and horn 3. It's on the upper register. And horn 2, horn 4 goes below. The notes that are more likely to clash with each other or so-called play in unison are horn 1 and horn 3. But it really depends on your own composition. So for my own personal composition, usually my horn 1 and horn 3 are much more closer in terms of interval. So horn 1 and horn 3 will be assigned to horn 1 and horn 2 respectively, whilst horn 2 and horn 4 will be assigned to horn 1 and horn 2 respectively. So this will prevent horn 1 and horn 3, horn 2 and horn 4 having phasing issue when playing in unison. So like this. Horn 1, choose horn 1, legato. Deactivate the articulation that you're not using. We go to horn 1, staccato. Deactivate portato, long, and universal. So horn 3, although it's horn 3, but we're using horn 2 patch. So horn 2, long, staccato. Deactivate the unused articulation. Horn 3, we'll use the horn 2 patch. Staccato, deactivate the rest. That's it. And horn 2, we'll be using horn 1. Horn 2 short is using horn 1. Horn 1's patch. Horn 4, using horn 2, just long, deactivate the shorts. Have horn 2. For horn 4, we use horn 2's patch. Okay, we're done with the horns. Next is the percussion. Timpani, choose timpani. And timpani has 3 articulations here. We are focusing on the hits, single stroke only. We'll just deactivate the octaves and the rolls. And for the rolls, we'll just activate the rolls only. Just activate the rolls, deactivate the rest. So that's what I meant by creating 2 tracks for each instrument. In this case, it's timpani and timpani rolls. For this, we are going to keep with the original register on the keyboard, but if you're using a MIDI keyboard that doesn't have 88 keys or less than 49 keys, then you might want to use this transpose, or in that case you can use your transpose key on your MIDI keyboard. So for this, I'm going to keep this as the local register, deactivate the transpose register. That's for glockenspiel, it's the highest, like a xylophone thing. Okay, next we have the cymbals. It's called suspended cymbal. So suspended cymbal, we choose the stick, not soft mallet. I'm going for the stick, so deactivate the soft mallet. And for those who are wondering, where is the rolls of the suspended cymbal? It's up here. You can see there is a very, very tiny word here. I have to zoom in to show you. You have the rolls on the H side. This is all the rolls. So that's strike, 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 all hits. The rolls is on the top. We can't separate it out for this symbol. And tam-tam, choose tam-tam. It sounds like this, the Chinese thing. The bass drum. And same for the bass drum. We can separate out the articulations. It's rolls and hit in the same patch. That's the rolls. Alright, so we are done with all the percussion. Next we'll go to the harp. So harp, orchestra, we do the harp. Yeah, we have the harp. We will just use the regular one. Now for the pianos. For me, piano, I use physical modeling from Piano Tech 9. But I want this to be VSL. You can go to Vienna Assistant. We do have Fazioli synchron pianos, a free trial for that. We can use the Fazioli Essentials. So we will go to another player. For pianos, we have to change this. We have to change this in the inspector. Click this arrow, search for VSL, pianos, stereo. After downloading, you have this Fazioli piano here. Next, we'll move on to the strings. Violin 1. Deactivate the unused articulation. Make sure the legato is turned on. Only one voice can be played on the keyboard for this case. You can't do an entire chord. If you want to do chords on violin 1, you have to deactivate the legato. For this case, we are all doing legato. So it's monophonic. So we're doing legato here. Next is staccato. Next, we'll do violin 1's pizzicato. These are my 3 most used articulation, so I'll just keep this into the template for all of you to download it for free. 1 hour, 5 minutes. I'm done. Okay guys, go get this free template under this video. I'm done. This is done for free for all of you. Yeah, one more thing I forget to do is save this as template. I will call this template as VSL YouTube template. I'll leave this file down in the description box. Go get it. Free 30 days trial. Link is in the description box. Peace out.